Well, he felt really, really bad. You'd go to see him in the nursing home, and how you doing, Frank? And one half of his body was completely done, and he'd lift his arm up and just drop. Well, that's got to be tough to be totally bedridden. It was much tougher for him, and unlike anybody that gets a little older, sometimes you get difficulty. You know what you want to say, but his was really...
Frank Fritz, the beloved co-host of American Pickers, passed away on September 30th, 2024, at the age of 60. But it wasn't just his unexpected death that left his loved ones reeling. It was the staggering fortune he left behind, stirring emotions, tensions, and more than a few surprises. Before we get into that, let's take a step back. Frank spent his life traveling the country, uncovering forgotten treasures, only to become one himself. His health had been declining for years, and a stroke in 2022 left lasting damage. By 2024, his body could no longer recover. According to TMZ, his death certificate listed the cause as late sequela of cerebral infarction. He had also been battling aortic stenosis, a heart condition that made his fight even harder. But even the strongest pickers can't negotiate with fate. Yet Frank's story wasn't just about struggle. It was also about redemption, especially when it came to his longtime friend and co-host, Mike Wolfe. The two had been inseparable since middle school, but fame drove a wedge between them. By 2021, their friendship had crumbled. Frank publicly accused Mike of turning American Pickers into a one-man show, saying, "The show is tilted towards him 1,000%. Then came the twist no one expected. After Frank's stroke, the two began reconnecting. By 2023, they were talking again. And when the end came, Mike wasn't about to let his friend go without making things right. "I got the call that he wasn't doing well," Mike told People. "I just feel blessed that I was able to get there." He was by Frank's side in his final hour, holding his hand, rubbing his chest. When Frank took his last breath, Mike gently closed his eyes. The anger was gone. The years of distance didn't matter. Two men who had shared more miles than most married couples found closure in the quietest, most human way possible. As Frank struggled to hold on, Mike whispered, "Just go find your mom." In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the show, the ratings, or past feuds. It was just two old friends saying goodbye. But Frank Fritz wasn't just a man with a heartfelt story. He was a self-made success. Born in Davenport, Iowa, Frank had been a collector since childhood. His passion for rare finds led him from a 25-year career as a fire inspector to a full-time picker. By the time American Pickers premiered in 2010, he was already a pro, scouring barns and garages alongside Mike Wolfe and Danielle Colby. The show became a massive hit, turning Frank into a household name. Beyond television, he built his fortune through best-selling books and Frank Fritz Finds, his antique shop in Savannah, Illinois. By the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated at $6 million. But here's the real question. What happens to all that money? Tears were shed, not just from grief, but from the weight of what he left behind. Some mourned his generosity, others regretted lost time, and then came the tension. Because when millions are at stake, even the closest families can fracture. So, what did Frank's will reveal? Who inherited his multi-million-dollar estate? Was his fortune left to family? Friends? Or someone completely unexpected? Frank had the foresight to finalize his will on October 23, 2023, a year before his passing, as his health steadily declined following his 2022 stroke. No one anticipated how quickly things would spiral, But Frank wasn't one to leave his finances to chance. According to the U.S. Sun, Midwest One Bank, his conservator after the stroke, was also named executor of his estate. As for the will itself, sealed. Whatever it contained was locked away. But one thing was certain. His $6 million fortune was officially settled just weeks after his death, on October 18, 2024. Rewind to 2022. When Frank suffered his debilitating stroke at his Iowa farmhouse, his life changed forever. He could no longer care for his basic needs: food, shelter, medical treatment. Loved ones stepped in, filing for conservatorship. Midwest One Bank took control of his finances, while his personal affairs were entrusted to longtime friend Chris Davis, who managed everything from his Crohn's disease treatments to therapy appointments. Then there were his prized possessions: a massive collection of antiques, vintage motorcycles, and memorabilia, scattered across his property like a museum of American nostalgia. While not fully inventoried, conservatorship documents revealed plans to preserve most of them, with select pieces used to stock Frank Fritz finds, his antique store in Savannah, Illinois. But what about his family? Where did they fit into this multi-million-dollar puzzle? Frank never married, despite 2021 rumors that he was planning to wed longtime girlfriend Diane. The truth? Their relationship ended in heartbreak. In a 2021 interview with The Sun, Frank revealed that while he was on the road filming American Pickers, he discovered Diane had another boyfriend back home, shattering his vision of marriage and the future he had imagined. "It hurt my feelings, my self-esteem, and my whole world," Frank admitted. In the aftermath, he turned to alcohol, beginning a long and painful battle with addiction. Diane denied his claims, telling The Sun, "If he's trying to make me look like the bad person, it's not true." But no matter who was right, the damage was done. By 2019, their relationship was over, leaving Frank to pick up the pieces. Without a wife or children, Frank's closest friends became his family. People like Chris Davis, who became his guardian, and Jerry Gendro, who frequently visited him in the nursing home. "He felt really, really bad," Jerry recalled, describing Frank's frustration as he lay bedridden, half his body paralyzed. "I think Frank could have lived a lot longer if the will to live had been there." And then there was Mike Wolf, the childhood friend turned co-host, turned estranged colleague. Their friendship had been tested, but by the end, they had reconciled. Yet, one lingering question remained. Did Mike inherit anything? With Frank's will sealed, the specifics of his estate remain a mystery. What is known, however, is that much of his fortune was tied to his vast antique collection and Frank Fritz finds, his store in Savannah, Illinois. His friend Jerry hinted that an auction might be in the works, ensuring Frank's beloved treasures would find their way into the hands of those who truly valued them. "I think he'd do really well with an auction," Jerry said. But beyond the money, there was the man. A man whose battles with addiction and declining health shaped his final years in ways no amount of wealth could mend. Frank's struggles weren't just about heartbreak. Chronic pain, Crohn's disease, and a broken back led to surgery in 2019, setting off a difficult recovery. He relied on painkillers, and before long, dependency took hold. By the time he left American Pickers in 2020, his addiction was no secret. He became addicted to opioids, and that's when everything changed, Mike admitted. He staged interventions, encouraged rehab, and never gave up hope. But just how much did Frank's struggles cost him, both financially and emotionally? The answer might surprise you. Frank's impact wasn't just in what he picked. it was in who he was. He was open about his struggles with Crohn's disease, addiction, and heartbreak, making him one of the most relatable figures on television. Even after leaving American Pickers in 2020, his influence endured through Frank Fritz Finds, his antique store in Savannah, Illinois. Now, even after his passing, plans are in motion to auction off parts of his prized collection, ensuring that his lifelong passion lives on. Fans will have a chance to own a piece of his history, turning his work into treasured mementos. But beyond antiques and fame, Frank left behind something far more valuable. A lesson in resilience, passion, and the importance of loving what you do. "Life is what you put into it," he once said. "If you don't put much into it, you don't get a lot out of it." Frank put everything into his work, his friendships, and his passion for picking. And while his fortune may have dwindled, his impact remains priceless. His spirit lives on in the treasures he unearthed, the people he inspired, and the road he traveled with heart, humor, and an unbreakable spirit.